Greetings, brothers and sisters. I am Brother Kenneth Ogra, a servant of God called in this last day of this age to convey the warning message of God to his church before his final move towards the conclusion of this age. I'm here to speak to the church and the general humanity about a frightening event of internal consequence that is about to occur on earth, designed particularly to conclude the church age at the rapture of the church. This event has long been creeping towards its time of fulfillment in this generation, and it has finally reached its time of occurrence. But the people of the earth are unaware of it. It is an event meant to shake the earth literally, bringing about a global panic like never before in the history of humanity, and leaving behind a spirit of melancholy, weeping, and wailing, especially to Christians caught unawares. One might be wondering what this sign is. Now, let me tell us about the cataclysmic sign already looming over all the living at the present. It is a sign long hidden to man, but recorded in the Bible in Joel chapter 2, verse 2, and Zephaniah chapter 1, verse 15. Bible reading and studying Christians are aware of this sign, only that they do not have an idea of the way it was meant to occur, its degree of occurrence, and the time of its occurrence, because not all things were made clear in the Bible for man to have every detail of them. This great sign has to do with a 3-day global darkness intended for transition of time between this dispensation of grace and the dispensation of the tribulation. The Lord spoke about this to the prophet Zephaniah about this sign over 2,500 years ago in Zephaniah chapter 1, verses 14 and 15, that the day of this sign shall be a day when mighty men shall cry bitterly, and that it shall be a day of wrath and great distress upon those that will be alive on earth on that day, and that it shall be a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, etc. This cataclysmic event is coming unannounced. Our scientists, with their latest advanced technological apparatus, shall not see it coming, because God intended it to come upon this generation unawares. It is a similar event which took place in Egypt at the Passover of the Hebrews, that is the Israelites, as we know them today, out of that land at the end of their 400-year captivity in that land. You can see that in Exodus chapter 12. That event of 3-day darkness and death of the firstborn of the Egyptians as the third and sixth plagues in that day was unannounced, and it was designed to foreshadow this that is about to take place, which is global in scale and far more disastrous in nature. This isn't a joke to everyone listening to this message. It is almost here and shall surely take place. A great servant of God saw this horrible day 28 years ago and captured it a day of darkness, according to how the Lord revealed it to him. That became the title of the book, bearing all information about this dreadful day and more the Lord showed to him. A very popular and credible servant and an apostle of God with regard to Professor Ike Nathan Uzoma was also shown this dreadful day and the 3-day period of this event. The Lord showed him this day and gave him a time frame for this event from the year 2005 with an unusual sign in that year, which was intended to measure a specific time period to the day of this frightful event. You can see this information and more in pages 22, 25, and 26 of his book entitled The Greatest Revelation of Our Time, Volume 1. Note that this event, which was designed to greet this generation unawares, is coming on the platform of principle. It is an event meant to fulfill within the framework of the divine plan of heaven, relative to a mysterious phenomenon of death for release which took place in the fourth principal dimension of God, where to the time the universe and entity called angels were created. It was also designed to reenact the event of the judgment of Satan in heaven and the death of all his firstborn before their expulsion from the heaven of God. Risen on this dreadful day, there shall be a falling away from heaven a great number of the firstborn fallen angels of Lucifer, which men shall be seen on that day falling as stars or meteors in repetition of that primordial experience in Egypt on earth. You can find this in the book of Revelation chapter 12, chapter 6, verses 12 to 13, and Exodus chapter 12, verse 12. Meanwhile, as was mentioned, because this event is coming on the platform of principle, is the reason for its occurrence on the 10th month of this year on the Gregorian calendar, which coincided with the 7th month of the Jewish calendar. In regard to this, the numbers 7 and 10 go together in relation to God and his Decalogos fourth dimension and his seventh spirit. The primordial Egypt experience and Passover death of Christ on the cross both display these numbers, giving their technical connection. Regarding the Egypt experience, it was the 10th plague that saw the death of all the firstborn of the Egyptians and the punishment of all their gods, which are the firstborn of Satan in camouflage. And this death and judgment came the 7th month of the civil year of the Jewish calendar, which is at the same time the first month of the religious year. Concerning Christ, in this regard, it was the 10th hour of the day Christ gave up the ghost on the day of his Passover death on the cross. And that was at the 7th month of the civil year of the Jewish people, or their calendar. It is on this basis of this principle that this event of similar significance is coming in the 10th month of the Gregorian calendar and in the 7th month of the Jewish calendar on the day of the Feast of Tabernacles specifically. And the whole process shall run up the 10th day of the 10th month of this 7,000 year from creation, after which humanity shall undoubtedly enter a new day of a new beginning in the progressive salvational plan of God for his faithful ones. Children of men, this event is coming not the way it is being speculated in the Bible by Christians. Contrary to a quiet event, it shall be a day of a great and unprecedented earthquakes and thick darkness of global scope, and a day of wobbling of the planet Earth as never before. You can see this in the book of Isaiah chapter 24 verses 19 to 24. On this day, for the first time, as recorded in the book of Zephaniah chapter 1 verse 15, the entire world shall be plunged into thick darkness that would cause madness of confusion and mayhem among men, who shall grope in this darkness for 3 straight days. This is no joke, and this event is about to break upon us all of this generation. The earthquakes of this day shall be so great that they would cause a lot of unimaginable and unbearable situations and conditions, as well as great geological changes on planet Earth as never before. This unprecedented cataclysmic event shall be occasioned by 2 factors especially. The first is geological birth and the translocation of many to a higher realm, and the second is the cosmic battle that shall erupt on that day. Both shall occasion this dreadful and horrible day on earth, as many gods shall be emanating from below to a temporary abode above. See Matthew chapter 27 verses 51 to 53, and Revelation chapter 6 verse 14 for reference to these events. Said earlier, one of the major events that this terrible day was designed to bring about is the beginning of a new era in the history of humanity. This shall come after the veil had been lifted or moved to one side of the way to make way for the formerly restricted to now gain access to God and his holy presence. You can see these events in its similar and primordial occurrence in time past in Matthew chapter 27 verse 51, and on this dreadful day, which is already here, recorded in Revelation chapter 6 verses 12 to 13. One secret about this event is the fact that it was designed to end the secret Third World War in a similar manner the First and Second World Wars came to an end, and ushering in a new dawn in the history of humanity. In this regard, the First World War ended with the greatest pandemic ever in the human history, which shook the world, dubbed the mother of all pandemics, with reference to the Spanish flu of 1918. The Second World War ended with the great atomic bombs the US dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, both in Japan, which also shook the world then. The secret Third World War is also concluding in a similar manner, with this COVID-19 pandemic and the imminent 3-day global darkness coming with a series of great earthquakes, destructions, and desolation the earth has never experienced. This is no joke. And one thing Christians should know about this secret Third World War in relation to how it was recorded or conceived in the Bible is the fact that it is which Christ referred to as the tribulation, and its end as the end of the tribulation in Matthew chapter 24 verses 29 to 31. There the Lord says, "Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from the heaven, and the power of the heavens shall be shaken." And what follows the event is the next two verses. For those who do not believe we are already going through the Third World War, which was made to be concealed to man, and that its time period of fulfillment has already elapsed, and those who believe the church shall not have a taste of tribulation before the rapture, would believe and understand this when this event had happened exactly as I and the Bible described, and the very time of its occurrence, with reference to it happening when the church has not been taken away by the rapture. For your information, the secret Third World War was designed to span a period of 21 years from the beginning of 7,000 years from creation in the year 1999. Therefore, count the time period and know when this secret global war and tribulation would or is expected to end, against the time I had just said it would occur. And for those who do not know that the current situation the church and the world in general is going through is described as tribulation, should check out the dictionary meaning of the word tribulation to ascertain the situation the world is currently going through. Then Christians would know the time they are in the plan of God, specifically the eschatological aspect of that plan. For information on this dreadful event, which is about to literally turn the world upside down, you may want to contact me. And if you wish to, you can contact me on Facebook at Kenneth Ogra, or through my Facebook page, The Trinity Code, or simply call any of these numbers, +234 8107 454314, or +234 811-3313-834. God bless you. Remember, there is no more time, and do not take this message for granted. Very soon, arguments about the validity of the messages and teachings of the Bible and the end of this age of the human government it speaks about shall soon be a thing of the past. Brothers and sisters, get ready, for the Lord is already at the door. Don't let him meet you unawares or unprepared. God bless you.